Hey y'all, if you've been here before, thanks for coming back. I'm excited to see you guys. If you are new to this channel, welcome to the Horticulture. Today, we're going to be talking about oregano. So, grab your notebook, sit back, grab some coffee or tea, and let's dive right into it. The mission was to take the things that we were growing in the greenhouse, in our Back to Eden garden, and expansive gardens that we will build and have been establishing to heal ourselves. So that is where we began doing research, and I feel like we're very much alike in this, George and I, that our mind is attached to an idea or to trying to uncover something. We become fully engaged in it so much that it consumes us, quite frankly. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. But that is how I have become with building out a homegrown apothecary for our family. And so my latest investments have been on books. I mean, stacks and stacks of books. It's going to get to a point soon where I don't even have anywhere to put them. But I find that knowledge is power. And, you know, having not just knowledge by consuming it, but by also doing it to create that muscle memory where you know what it does because you have the cause and effect of learning that knowledge and applying it and what happens as a result. So you gain wisdom and then you gain from it understanding. So the first thing that I wanted to focus on was, you know, common things that I could grow that would be prolific, that I could begin cultivating for medicinal properties. One of the other videos, I put out 2 videos so far on medicinal herbs. One was plantains, and that was because we got stung by bees. And I remember I was down on the bottom portion of this property cutting grass, which is not common because, you know, we're never down there. But I was cutting grass just to kind of maintain it, and I must have hit a yellow jacket's nest, because the next thing you know, I felt shards. It felt like shards of glass all down my leg. And I was like, oh no, what is this? What is going on? When I went back up to the house, I noticed they were bee stings. And I actually had a yellow jacket stuck in my pant leg. So definitely bee stings. And it hurt. I mean, it was painful, especially when I had multiple ones all over my leg. There was that occurrence, and then there was other occurrences with my kids and some of our friends that came in their kids, where bee stings and just stings from insects was a common thing here. So plantains have the ability, and I have proven it by testing it on myself and others that wanted to try it out. They work for that. They help alleviate the inflammation from minor stings and wounds. Then I was like, ooh, what else can we do? What else can we find that's already here that we can use? And the next thing led me to black walnuts. So we have a whole grove of black walnuts that are here. We actually planted or created our Back to Eden garden right in front of them, and once you learn about junglone and the properties that black walnut holds, sometimes obviously that makes it challenging for a garden. But my mom was in town, she has had arthritis, so I was trying to specifically, across all of the books that I've invested in over the last 8 months, I was trying to figure out, okay, well, what can help with arthritis? And there's a handful of different plants that you can use, but black walnut was one of them, and I had black walnuts everywhere. They dropped like crazy. So that is where I learned how to make a salve. I called it salve because that's what it's spelled to me, but it's salve apparently, so salve. And then I also looked at making a bug stick, like a chapstick tube with the plantain properties, or the properties that are within plantain leaves, so that if I get a mosquito bite or something when I'm out, I whelp up really bad with mosquito bites, so I can just rub that bug stick on, and a few minutes later it's good to go. So from there I decided, okay, what else? What else can we use that we have here? I planted oregano, and the reason why I planted oregano, it's not that I use it a ton right now, or did, I will be, and you'll learn why in this video, but it was because I wanted a whole herbal bed. I wanted to be able to walk out to my greenhouse whenever I wanted and snip off different herbs that I can throw into whatever I wanted to cook. And I don't know, for me, I guess I'm just super frugal, but I hate going to a grocery store, a chain grocery store, and buying herbs that are in a plastic container that seems small, but the price seems high for one use. That to me just doesn't make sense. If you can grow it, what do they say? If you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he can eat for a lifetime. And that is how I felt about the whole herb aspect. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna make a whole bed in the aquaponics system for herbs. So oregano was one of them. Oregano lavender is another one that I have going. And I started, of course, referring back to my books, and oregano oil is impressive. I mean, there's so much that you can do with oregano oil. So I wanted to share during this video some information that I've absorbed through my readings and research on oregano specifically, the primary active ingredients or constituents that make up oregano oil, and what you can do from an herbal standpoint, what you can make, and what it can support you if you use it. So with that, let's talk about some facts.
Came across one research where they were trying to reduce the salmonella bacterium that was on grape tomatoes. Want to read this abstract to you all? High-risk fresh produce items such as raw tomatoes have caused several large outbreaks of human salmonellas. From 2005 to 2006, multi-state outbreaks of salmonella were traced to tomatoes in the United States and resulted in serious economic loss for the tomato industry, and consumer confidence in the safety of tomato and its products. Chlorine-based water washing is commonly used as a post-harvest treatment in the tomato industry to reduce pathogenic and spoilage microorganisms. However, there are other risks associated with organic matter, including undesirable byproducts such as chloroform, that have known or suspected carcinogenic or mutagenic effects, which may cause new regulatory restrictions in the future. Thus, it is of interest to study an effective but natural alternative to chlorine-based sanitizers to reduce salmonella and other pathogenic and spoilage microorganisms. Wow.
If you grow your own food, you know that it tastes different. It tastes better. Your homegrown food will taste so much more nutritious than things that you buy in the store. And you don't realize that until you start eating things that you've grown or that others have grown, or going to the farmer's market. You don't really realize it because that's what you're used to, but it does. I'm telling you, even eggs, like with chickens, taste so much different when you have them. That's because there's a whole middleman in that process, from the time that it's cultivated or harvested in the farms, what it happens while they're in the farms, but also as it goes through to get into stores. So that was an interesting study, and definitely won't be buying tomatoes from any grocery store ever again, because I don't want chlorine washed tomatoes. Can't imagine that's good.
Continue with our research. Another active constituent that's found in oregano is called carotene, also referred to as BCP. BCP is a cannabinoid receptor type 2, a selective phytocannabinoid, which has already been shown in precedent literature to exhibit both anti-inflammatory and analgesic effects in mouse models of inflammatory and neuropathic pain. In this investigation, they sought to find out whether there was a therapeutic potential of BCP on experimental autoimmune diseases. They concluded, and I quote, "Furthermore, our data establishes the BCP constitutes an alluring therapeutic molecule towards the treatment of MS along with other autoimmune diseases."
Oregano oil may be the leading contender to hold the highest oil content of carvacrol. Carvacrol is one of the many active ingredients that comprises oregano oil, specifically speaking. So I was like, okay, what is carvacrol? What is this? I've never heard of this term before. I mean, I'd be interested in, leave comments. If you guys are watching this, leave some comments. Have you ever heard of carvacrol before? So I started doing more deep dives into that specific active ingredient because I wanted to understand, okay, what is this exactly? So what I learned is that carvacrol is called a bacteriostatic, it has a bacteriostatic property to it, which basically means that it helps prevent and fight off bacteria. It helps prevent the reproduction of bacteria. So quickly you have to assume, okay, where does most bacteria live? In your gut, right? Gut flora, gut health has been a huge topic point for a lot of people recently, and there's a lot of reasons to it. A lot of it is associated with your diet, what you're eating and putting into your body. Food is meant to nourish you. It's not to fill you up. It's meant to give yourself the energy and nutrients you need to not only survive, but to thrive and make you stronger. So it has that aspect to it. It also has an inhibiting effect to an enzyme in your gut called COX-2. And that specific enzyme that lives in that anatomical region of your body is what you get inflammation from, and what can also lead to stomach ulcers. So that it's inhibiting this, I definitely want it in my system, I can tell you that much. I did further research on carvacrol. There's others too. There's thymol, there's betobusmoline, there's resins, a ton. I mean, I actually have an article that you guys can check out if you want to read all of the research, or rather all the insights that I documented on oregano and the super ingredients it holds. So I'll leave that for you guys to check out if you want to. Another big thing is on cancer. So I read that, I mean, honestly, guys, if you read half the packages of stuff, not only food, but like female products, right? You would be surprised how much stuff is in there that is carcinogenic. So to me, from a logical standpoint, it makes sense why you hear of so many more people nowadays having cancer, because we're exposed to so much more and we consume so much more that have those carcinogenic residual impacts to them, which over time it compounds. It's like the frog. I like these analogies, right? But it's like the frog in the slowly, warm water that starts to boil, is you don't realize it until it's too late. It's not just an immediate thing. It happens progressively over time. So going back to it, carvacrol has the ability to break through damaged cell membranes, which, as it relates to cancer, means that it can kill cancer cells. It can also stop the reproduction of cancer cells, and that is how it holds anti-tumor properties to it. So a lot of information that I absorbed about carvacrol had me just giddy. I was like, why do we not have this already, and where can we get it? Or where, how do we make it, rather, not where can we get it, because we're growing it. We might as well try to make it ourselves. So in this video, I wanted to show you a little bit about what I do to prep, or what I've done to prep and make a tincture out of it. I'm also planning on once this stage is done, I would love to make some type of salve from it, or cream that I can use for different, different skin issues, skin irritations. I use the black walnut salve on my psoriasis. It's on my elbow. Anytime it flares up, I don't use it all the time because I don't need to, but when it flares up and it's itchy and red, I immediately go put it on, and the black walnut does wonders on my elbow. So I'd be curious to test it against that, since it does have similar properties to the black walnut with respects to skin irritations.
Alright guys, well that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you were able to glean some insight from this. I know I learned a whole lot. Should have probably threw this at the beginning, but I'm going to give you a disclaimer now. I am not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer, an astronaut, a judge. I'm not anything but a student. I research, I question, I research some more, I compare, I discern everything. And then once I'm done doing that, I discern it again. So I'm only sharing this information that I've captured through my readings on Oregano with you after I've done my due diligence of reading. But it's always important. Take your own precautionary steps. If you're seeking out building an apothecary, you have to take ownership of knowledge, of understanding how things work, understanding your body as well. So take that into consideration, but nonetheless, I hope this was an insightful video for you to check out. If you have a particular herb that you have in your apothecary, please tell me. I'm learning all of this as like a newbie, so my glass is totally empty and I want to fill it up with useful herbs and useful tools that God has given us through nature. So yep, drop me a hint. You can even shoot us a message. We appreciate your support. Make sure you go and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.
What are you doing?